Hello and welcome to Friday afternoon. We are here at Go Narrative headquarters, and boy, do I have a treat for you today. Today, we are going back to our homepage teardown. We do have a homepage for you today, a Seattle-based startup, and we're going to have a look at that website, and we are going to see how we can help them with their story. And the first time I started doing these teardowns, I was doing them on my own, and then we started to bring some fun guests in to bring some extra interest and flavor. And today I'm super excited because the way we're going to approach that is we're going to bring some extra Seattle flavor into the mix, because I have got my friend Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Great to have you here, man. Thank you for joining. What is going on with you today?
What is going on? It's Friday in Seattle. That's what it's all about.
Friday in Seattle. And yeah, Jeff has been doing a ton of really interesting stuff recently, and we are going to get into that before long. But Jeff, just a quick high-level overview, who you are, and then we'll have a lot of fun talking about the Docutronica stuff in a few minutes.
Sure.
and some of the other storytelling work that you've been doing. But let's let the audience know. Let's know, who is Jeff? What's Jeff all about, man?
Who is Jeff and what is Jeff all about? Well, I'm Jeff Leisawitz. I am a life coach for storytellers and creatives of every flavor here in Seattle, although I Zoom with people and do workshops and stuff all over the world, really. I'm a screenwriter, I'm a filmmaker, I am a songwriter, I've done music for film and TV, on and on and on, all really about communication. How do we communicate in creative and interesting ways to get the point across? So that's kind of the nutshell of what the Jeff is about.
That is a pretty cool nutshell, man. I mean, you're talking screenwriting, music for TV, life coach to storytellers. I know that we've certainly traded our own life coaching back and forth on that front. What a fun place to be. And can you give the folks a little teaser for the Docutronica stuff that you're going to go to in a bit more detail in a few minutes?
Sure. Docutronica is a new style of music. Well, it's not that new because I developed it 25 years ago, but it's coming back, baby. And I'll tell you all about it whenever you're ready. It's storytelling and music and video and all kinds of cool stuff.
It is really creative, really unique blend of, we talk a lot about storytelling in different media, right? In storytelling with data, storytelling in presentations and pitches and slide decks. We talk about narratives, and we talk about all the different types of media, songs and movies. They're all topics that come up, and video is a big one that people think when they think storytelling. And Jeff has found a really cool way to bring all of that together, and we are going to talk about that, and I'm super excited for that. And for those of you that maybe haven't been around on the show before, I'm going to share a little bit with you about my history and like why on earth I was even interested in getting into this stuff in the first place. And it does start way back in 1978, and I love what we do with this because not only does it make me think about the introduction that one of our clients gave to us earlier this year before we got up on stage to do a keynote for them about the real connection. Like, this isn't just, we don't just do storytelling at Go Narrative for storytelling. We are storytelling. Like, we believe in it, we live it, we breathe it. And not only that, but the impact that we're able to have on people. And this is one of my favorite quotes of all time from one of our clients, even though it uses one of the words that I don't really like, which is empowered. I have a list of words that I tell AI not to use when we're working on iterating ideas, and one of those is empowered. I've had bugbear about that word, and I've had a bugbear about that word since I worked at Microsoft, who overused it in the office business and still do. Come on, guys, seriously. But the quote, I love it. Clarity is a word I love. Feeling that clarity, having the tools to forge ahead and to tell the stories that will connect what they do to the customer, which is ultimately what all this is about. And it's not just nice quotes, right? We see real impact in these numbers, and these numbers impact people, whether it's individuals, whether it's life coaches, whether it's consultants, whether it's founders of organizations, or the people that we worked with in corporations. Now we're focusing on Seattle Series A founders, and with a bit of wiggle room in either direction. But we do that because we love the innovation that we're seeing here in Seattle. We love the innovation we're seeing in AI. And so the impact that we see is at the individual level, the company level, and the organization, the partnership level as well. And that's tangible. It's real tangible business impact. And as I was saying to a client yesterday, the numbers represent something. Data represents something, right? It represents an impact, a positive or a negative impact. The story is what drives that impact. And there's this beautiful balance. There's this sort of interplay between data and story, right? And how you think about that as a founder, like, what story do we have? What story do our clients have? What kind of impact are we looking to make on our clients' lives, our customers' lives? Whether it's an app or a service or a product, what is that impact, and how do we measure that impact? And that is the relationship between storytelling and data, and it's so important. And that is exactly why I love this kind of stuff. But you know, it goes way back. Like I said, it goes way back to 1978. I was an infant. We moved from what was relatively comfortable environment, so to speak, to chaos. And it was within that chaos that I was fighting for attention, and not just like a normal baby, but we basically lived in a building site. Like, my bedroom was the only safe room in the house. At any other time, my mother had to be very careful about where I was. There were holes in the floor, holes in the walls. It was just absolute chaos. My mother, a very dear friend of my mother, recently told me that when they first met, she said, "Oh, we could come around to your house if you like." And my mum was like, "No, I don't want to spend another minute in that place." It was this chaos that I was fighting for attention against. And it trained me to start pattern matching in an accelerated and an enhanced way. It's something all humans do. All our brains are pattern matching machines, but I was forced to do it from 6 months old, and it just continued. So 1981, we moved to the US. 1986, I started keeping my diary. And in 1990, I started keeping that every single day. And so my story is story, right? The pattern matching and understanding the stories that are going on around me, to the writing it down every single day. In fact, I was having a conversation with another client about this amazing, and I can't talk about it because it's super secret, but I was talking about 1996, and this is my diary from 1996. This is actually my first year of university, and there's the tale that this tells as a year, the momentous part of my life, and then how that then fits up into the bigger picture. So started that then, and then fast forward to 2012, I was hired to be chief storyteller for Microsoft Dynamics, one of the first chief storyteller roles in the world at the time. And that was when I got this passion for developing storytelling in business, and rapidly discovered that the hero's journey doesn't cut it. It's not the right tool, and I tried to apply it, and I started to panic. In fact, I was arguing with AI yesterday about, like, it suggested the hero's journey as a potential meta story to talk about. I was like, no way, man. That's exactly the opposite. Like, are you not listening to me, GPT? And then the opposite of that is the too simple. So you got too complicated, you got too simple, and beginning, middle, end, for example, like that's not going to help anybody like structure a story and let alone tell the story. Fast forward again to 2017, I was like, okay, at this point I'd left Microsoft, a family tragedy forced me to reassess my life, spent a year helping run a marketing agency and like taking the revenue through the roof on that. And I was like, you know what? I'm now ready to start Go Narrative and go help more people. And that was the beginning of figuring out and codifying this journey and trying to find that Goldilocks spot, right? They're not too complicated, not too simple. And I realized it all starts with heart and that desire. What do people want? What do you as a founder want? What do your customers want, right? We have these shared connection points in desire. And then there's difficulty, right? What is the difficulty of that client or that customer that you're trying to solve, right? Because that's why you exist. But then your difficulty is, how do we build this thing? How do we build the product roadmap? How do we build the story roadmap? And I want you to remember that story roadmap. How do you build your story roadmap? It is a vital part of the puzzle. And when you've got that story roadmap, you start to connect your desire, the customer's, client's desire to solve their problem and untangle that knot, which is it's a fancy French word I love called denouement, and it means literally the untangling of the knot. And that comes together in the power of 3D story. Desire, difficulty, denouement. It's my favorite of our frameworks, and it's something that I'm always gonna be talking about. But with that D, those 3 Ds, I wanna use that as an opportunity to jump back to Jeff and to talk about Jeff's D and Jeff's D, which is Docutronica. Docutronica, how does that fit into what we're talking about here with helping people connect, helping people solve other people's problems? Tell me about that, Jeff.
Sure. So first of all, what is Docutronica? Let's flash back about 25 years where I was running around Seattle attempting to be a rock star, as you do, or as I did anyway. I realized that all of the songs that I was writing were from my own perspective, even if I was writing them in third person. I was like, well, this is what basically every songwriter does, but I want to tell other people's stories. So I got a digital tape recorder and I went out into the world and I started interviewing people with vastly different stories to tell. I recorded those interviews and cut the interviews up into my original electronic music and created songs out of that. I interviewed and made a song about a blind man, about a heroin addict, about a woman who had a near-death experience, and a Buddhist mystic, people with radically different stories. And this thing immediately turned into a big deal. It was named Best Independent Electronic Artist in the World in 2000, which was pretty good. I thought I was going to be hanging out with Moby. At the end of the day, that did not happen, but hey, I tried.
It didn't happen? Really?
But I'm hanging out with Matthew, so that's cool.
Step in the right direction.
It is, absolutely. So I'm currently doing Docutronica these days, where I'm making music videos and I'm interviewing local artists here in Seattle and making these short music videos in this style. So it's really going well. It's really cool. We're going to be having a screening in November with this thing. So how does Docutronica, sort of what's the story in the story of Docutronica? It's really connecting with other people through a subject's own voice. If you ask the right questions to anyone, they will answer eventually with something that matters to them. And once you have that, if you frame it right and structure it right, that's essentially a story, and that will connect humans on a deeper level. So that's what Docutronica is, and that's how those stories work.
It reminds me of how I frequently talk about storytelling being your operating system, right? It is. It's if you think about what an operating system is in a phone or a computer, it's a platform for getting stuff done and understanding, and it's got a bunch of inputs and then it's got outputs, right? And the inputs of our life are what we hear, what we see, our senses, right? And the interactions that we have, and it's through that we then fuel our operating system's ability to navigate the world, especially when we start bumping into other people's stories, because they have their own story operating system, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So with the Docutronica, the Seattle stories, why Seattle? What is it that led you to doing this for Seattle? Because it sounds like Seattle's almost like the client, if you will, in this case.
Well, I guess what I didn't mention here is after 25 years of having this on the back burner, I am now amping this up. Why? Because I got a grant from the city of Seattle to do this for Seattle artists. So I'm here, they're here, it's all cool. Once this grant is complete, which is after this screening in November, I will be taking this this new business really out into the world outside of Seattle.
It makes me think of the story, the trope, the narrative of overnight success took many years. You know that one?
Yeah, I'm living it. Yeah.
And it's such not only a perfect fit for what you're talking about, because you've been doing Docutronica for a long time. We did one together. We have worked with clients to develop them, and yet you're talking about this taking off, if you will, this this acceleration, this explosion, you painting this sense of that now it's happening, right? Now it's coming to fruition. So it connects with that. And it also connects with what I frequently coach people on, and that is all stories matter, but no story is sovereign. And when you think about what that means for Seattle, in your case, or a business, a founder and their startup, we're going to look at a company's website and transition a lot of what we're talking about here into how we think about how do you come across on a website based on what we're talking about, and the stories that make up that company. And one of the big mistakes, and this is why I have started to coach people on all stories matter, no story is sovereign, is it's very easy through the curse of knowledge to focus too much on your own story. And when you focus too much on your own story, for example, as a founder, you can drown out the voices of other important stories that make up your company, internally, externally, customers, of course, but also partners. What does that ecosystem of stories look like? And, when I started coaching people about narrative, if you look back 5 years, 8 years, you would look at what I was saying then and you would assess it based on what I just said now in the following way. You would say, Matthew, you were talking about narrative, needing narrative is the big story and how that's the most important one. And once you've got that, you can create the stories from it. And then vice versa, there's a natural occurrence, just like the trope of the overnight success took a long time, but there's lots of other narratives like that. And they come out naturally by all of the people who've had those stories. And in business, you can obviously engineer that. You can say, this is our narrative and we want to go and tell these stories that align to it. And so if you'd assessed me now through the lens of now, back 5 years ago, you'd say, well, are you saying that the narrative is sovereign? And I would say, no, the narrative isn't sovereign. It's one of those important stories. And with your Docutronica, I want to underscore, Jeff, this is something that you've already created. There's evidence of this in existence and its success. And what I love about Docutronica is how you take what could be considered boring, dare I say, content and turn it into something engaging. And
that's right.
Engaging content drives engagement and drives action. So tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about, for example, because I know there's some different flavors of it, but tell me about the flavor where you interview somebody and you turn it into a music video.
Yeah. So one of the secret sauces of the many secret sauces of Docutronica is what I learned in college as a poetry student. And what I learned back then is a poem is a distillation of language. Essentially, cut, edit, just down to the absolute crystallization of the meaning. Okay? So when I interview someone, I talk to them for half hour, 40 minutes, something like that. And I use about 2.5 minutes of what they said. So what this does is it takes all of the fluff, all of the nonsense, all of the yammer, and it takes it down to words and lines that have real meaning, real emotional impact, real power to connect human to human. Once you put that within a musical context, you can frame it in such a way and structure it in such a way that the message comes across with a lot more power. So that's one of the secret sauces of Docutronica.
I love it. And a way that a founder can think about using this is just like a conversation I was having with a client yesterday about filming customer testimonials. You can put a customer testimonial up on your website. You can make an effort to cut out some of the fluff, but you can also use the Docutronica approach.
Right.
Turn up the volume to 11, as Spinal Tap said, right?
That's right.
Make it more engaging. I also want to raise a little flag there, something to keep an eye out, something to bear in the back of your head. You know, we're all burdened by all these little thoughts we need to keep in our minds, and I'm going to give you another one right now, and it is a super important one. When you're putting customer testimonials up on your website, don't just talk about your company, especially not at the beginning. Problem, solution, benefit is a terrible mindset to take into it. You should be thinking about the problem, of course, but spend the edit time and output on the customer. What did they want? What stood in the way? And then a little bit at the very end about how you helped. Because honestly, we can all be honest with ourselves about this. When we go to a website, especially if we're not all the way down the buying cycle, when we go to somebody's website and we see a bunch of video testimonials, we know what we're going to get. We know what we're going to get. And Jeff, we know what we're going to get, don't we?
We do, and it usually sucks.
And what is it? I'm sure you and I could both make up an example right now on the spot. Can you make one up on the spot?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Most testimonials it sounds like a commercial because, that's what it's trying to be, but that's not what it's supposed to be. Right? So you look at a testimonial or read it and you're like, did they get paid for that or what? Right? So the secret sauce in a testimonial, it's not even the structure, it's not all this and that as far as I'm concerned. It's the emotion. If you can elicit real emotion from your customer or client in the testimonial, that's all you need. It doesn't matter how they say it, the structure of it, the problem, the solve, right? It's just like you gotta feel it. If you as the watcher, the audience of this thing, can feel the customer or client's emotion, that will be a win. You're like ready to buy.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. That emotions are not fluffy. Emotions are functional. It's such a trap. There's so many traps when it comes to story because it's everywhere. And when something is everywhere, it is incredibly messy and hard to pick apart, which is exactly why I love helping people with this, because they don't have to worry about all that mess, right? I mean, if you want to do it yourself, take what Jeff and I are saying today and do it. But honestly, if you hire us, we can get it done for you. It's kind of like, it's your product idea. It's your vision. Like, people like Jeff and I won't collude with you if we have feedback. If our opinion based on our experience is what you just said sucks, we will tell you that. We will. I'm a challenge the status quo, right? And I think you're a better way from a wide perspective. And so we will challenge you, and I will hit my microphone to reinforce the point.
That's right.
We will challenge you, but it is your idea, your vision. You bring it all. You have a bunch of great content. You have a bunch of stories and experiences. You have a rudimentary narrative. You're living your story. You know your customers. You bring all that to the table, and Go Narrative will help you decode it, encode it, and basically put your story roadmap aligned with your product roadmap, right? And get it done for you. And then we bring Jeff in to do some docutronica. So yeah, we see those testimonial videos, and it's gonna be, it's like, I'll just pick something up from my desk here. We'll just do this. We'll pretend it's a some B2B product, and be like, yeah, we were really suffering with the small form factor issue. Like, nobody had the right form factor. And then we started working with company with right form factor, and overnight we had the right form factor, and it was so amazing. We just had the right form factor all the time, and the company who made the right form factor just helped us, and we had this number, which you'll never remember, and you don't have any way of proving if they actually really mean something or if they're just damn lies and statistics, but buy this company's product because it is amazing and it's the right form factor. We know that's what we're going to get, right? So that's a good little segue for us to shift gears into the fun that we love to have on these calls.
But hold on, I want to step back a little bit for a second.
Yes, please do.
Okay. So, what you said there is, if we're interviewing someone and they're giving an answer like that with the form factor, we'll push back. Okay. So here's what happens when you interview people. They start with their brain. Okay. They think they can brain their way into the answer. But once again, brain is not emotion. So by tapping the right buttons with the right questions in the right ways, the emotion will come out, even if it's the emotion around form factor. Right? So by pushing back and asking the right questions, you can create a better story in your client.
I love it. And I love the fact you said that, because you're right. And that's where the first failing is not even doing that in the interview, right? Is why we have the standard operating procedure when it comes to this stuff of probing the emotions, right? Mm-hmm. It's actually why when I first founded Go Narrative, I was trying to encode, right? How do I encode this stuff to operationalize it? I've got, I've over here somewhere, I'll proudly share every once in a while that I have a patent, a Microsoft patent from when I was an employee at Microsoft. It's got my name on it. You see it there. And this is they give you a patent cube at Microsoft when you get a patent. And some engineers will have like shelves stacked with these beauties, right?
Oh my God.
But quite rare to find in marketing. And it goes to show why, or it's a physical example, literally quite heavy. It's a really great paperweight. Look at that, there we go. Give my camera a chance to. Customer Engagement Accelerator. Always care about customers, always care about the customer. And it's putting it into that framework. And so that's why Jeff's got Docutronica. It's why we've got the Power of 3D Story. And some other ones I developed when I founded the company, because I wanted to make it easy for us and fast for us to get your story produced, right? And I actually did a timeout a few years ago. I was like, stop creating frameworks, Matthew. Stop doing it. There's 9 in the playbook already. But I couldn't help myself this year, Jeff. I couldn't help myself. I created a new framework.
You got a lot of frameworks, my man, I gotta say.
I did. Do you want to know what the framework is?
Please.
I call it the emo pyramid.
Okay.
Emo pyramid. I love the name.
Tell more.
It's the emotional pyramid, right? It's emo pyramid. So it's emo pyramid approach, or the emo pyramid application, or you can coach people in the emo pyramid way. And it's really all about not allowing yourself to stop at surface level communication. Go deeper. Just like you said, if we're interviewing somebody, right, go deeper. To start at that high level what's and facts, but then push down, okay, so what, like, why did you want to do this? What was the motivation behind it? And then what were the emotions that were involved? That gets down to the third level. And those are emotions are words we use to describe the fourth level, which are the feelings. But then you can actually go to that. It's why if you read some of our stuff, Jeff, you'll see stuff like the waking up in the night with cold sweats, or the pit in the bottom of your stomach, because that is what emotions are. They are not fluffy, they are functional. They drive us to do things. Like, we literally do not do anything in life if we don't feel a need to do it. We do not change. Like, we do not change.
That's right.
In fact, as I share my screen here for the next bit, our fun little screen share bit, is this gonna, let me make sure I've got this. Do the screen, and we'll do this screen. Do you like that?
Yeah, cool.
I took this photo with, in fact, the same camera that I used for our streaming here. I took this at the shop in Seattle.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I'm a member there. I'm a car nut. I love cars. This is a Nissan 250Z, a Nissan Fairlady. And in fact, my father's first car purchase when we came to the US was one of these. And we found in his letters back to his parents, he was amazed at how affordable it was in America. And I think that some of these things may have fed into the white 18 months turned into 9 years. But so I saw this and I loved it, and took some photos of it. And this is one of my favorite ones I took. And I look at this. Look, Jeff, I track my car, as you know. I look at this and I think, oh my Lord, this is somebody who is like, they are going full bore into this. And I imagine putting myself, like, I'm imagining their story, right? And then I imagine like doing what they're doing here. Like, I when I'm on the track, I have a helmet that I bought from 425 Motorsports, and a hands device that I bought from 425 Motorsports that are on stickers on here. I've got Sparco gloves. Yeah, so I'm dipping my toe in, right? But they're going full bore. And I look at this and I have some emotions, some positive, some negative. And the negatives are, oh, I wish I was doing that today. But also, oh my goodness, imagine getting into this project and building out this particular car, and all of the time and energy. And that's going to take a big push to get somebody to do. And whether it's a race car or whether it is a B2B purchase, there is literally, Jeff, a law of physics, right? Which is it, thermodynamics, or the fourth law, about a body remaining in the state it's in unless it's acted upon by an equal or opposite opposing outside force. Something to that effect.
It's one of those.
And there's a lot of that in driving on the track, man. I'll tell you that.
I bet, I'm sure.
Same in business. Like, why on earth would you, for example, like we did this year, migrate to HubSpot if we didn't have a really good reason for it? But that reason comes from a feeling, an emotion of the opportunity that we can seize if we do this thing. It's fueled by that emotion. Yeah, we get to a point where we're looking at the pros and cons and the costs and the speeds and feeds, and every website has a place for that. And that is one of the things I frequently find myself talking about when we look at websites. And here we have a Seattle-based website that, if my research is correct, they got that Series A funding. And I was looking at several options. There's two of them got acquired, in fact. One by Apple when I was looking at the ones for today. So I can't remember if this number is correct. If it's wrong, my bad. It was something to the effect of 25 million, I think. I don't want to misrepresent what these guys did because it's their business. I've got so many tabs open. Comments in the LinkedIn recording of this if you have any feedback on that, and EJ, let's take the action for me to loop back, get that number and drop it into the notes so we can accurately represent these amazing people's business. And that's the thing. Amazing people running amazing businesses, solving amazing problems. And that it's hard work, right? You've got a lot on your plate. And when you've got a lot on your plate, some stuff can fall through the cracks. And one of those things, unfortunately, Jeff, that we frequently see falling through the cracks is people's websites.
Sure.
And like, when you look at this website, what jumps out at you? Is there anything in particular? There's some things I always look for, but before I throw those onto the table, I want to see what your thoughts are.
Well, let me start from my context, from where I'm coming from. This kind of stuff is not my world. Okay. So as the guy that I am looking at this thing, I'm like, what is even going on? I don't really understand what's happening. There's a lot of information on there in a way. I just don't like, I need it. I kind of need it dumbed down for me.
Well, it's interesting that you say it that way. And it's interesting because, look, there's going to be some people that come to this website that are at a certain point in the journey where they are experts on data warehousing. Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They know what these things are, and they are not just in the market, but they are a qualified buyer. And for those people, they'll see those words and they'll touch the right buttons. And so we do want to make sure that we touch those buttons. However,
that's right.
The really interesting thing is the extreme opposite of this in business. And that is the person who's been delegated to go and find out what the options are for the thing we've decided we've got a problem and we need to solve. So that can be, literally, it could be an assistant. It could be a recent college graduate. Nowadays, we'll obviously be using AI as a part of that process. But we eventually have to go and look at the website. And it could also be somebody that is in a corporation or even a mid-sized corporation that has had a lateral move and a career opportunity, and their job is to head up the initiative for improving pipeline for the organization. But they might not have any data warehouse experience. They might not have thought about product adoption, right? And for those people who are very much in the market, this kind of website is going to confuse. And as our fellow traveler in the storytelling industry, Donald Miller in his story work says, if you confuse, you lose, right?
That's for sure.
And I like to look at it as clarity. Like, let's be clear. What are we trying to do? So when we look at these websites, the stuff I'm looking for is, funnily enough, not a million miles from what you're looking for. And it is, where are the people? That's the first thing I look for.
Right. Is there a human involved in this?
Is there a human?
Right. So I'd like to interrupt for a second.
Yeah, please do.
So with my first comment there, One of the things that we always need to remember in storytelling and marketing and all this kind of stuff is the language or the lexicon that you use, which I think is what you're talking about. If these are the words and the language that are part of this business, then yes, these are the right words. If this website talked to a viewer like I would talk to a rock musician, they would not be getting many clients, right? Because it's a different language. So understanding who your client is and, using the right language, there's definitely something to say for that. So that's why I started my comment with, this is not my world.
And there's a good point in there, which is, and what people should be thinking as they hear this, is they should be thinking, well, yeah, okay, Matthew, but how do I say the words I need to say, but also get people to stick around, right? And what I'm doing right now is I'm copy pasting these into a GPT that we've got, which has a look at websites, and we ran it earlier, but I've realized I want to do a little bit more sort of context on this. But words don't have to just be one type of word. In fact, I'll often make the point that you need to be careful, like swinging too far in the other direction when it comes to your storytelling journey, because it's not about putting a Star Wars grade storytelling video on your website or War and Peace, right? People get confused between storytelling and story, right? Storytelling is the verb, right? Story is the noun. And if you don't have story right, then your storytelling is not going to be very good. And if you go too far in the emotional direction and you don't have any meat, it's just as bad. It's just like the relationship between data and story. Stories are made better with facts. They make it tangible, they make it real. But they also need to be engaging to keep people sticking around.
Right. And
vice versa, if it's just data, you won't get them to stick around. Vice versa, if it's just emotional language, it doesn't connect to me specifically and the problems I have, you lose them. So your point is, and the reason why I love the fact that we've got you on the show today, looking at this from a different perspective, is just like you said, this is all about human to human. Humans are still involved. And I've ultimately got to care about this. And so what I want to tell our GPT to do here is, I think you had a cached version of the site. Please run this scoring again and do a suggested above the fold headline and paragraph and a second one that can be used below that. Okay. So people is one of the first things I look for, and I'm looking for them above the fold. We do start to see some down below. We see testimonials. Let's read this first testimonial quickly. With our PLG motion, legacy marketing automation providers don't scale to handle our customer data set. Inflection enables us to communicate with customers at scale with highly relevant messages, personalized with that account is doing what they're doing in our product. And I'm going to actually use this. I'm going to say, if we interview them with our approach, which the GPT knows, what sort of quote would we elicit that balances the need to connect with the product that the founders have in this case, and the needs of the customer while engaging with the correct story language. Okay, so we do have a quote there. Our assessment is pretty obvious to this. I'm sure if you I know some of these words. It starts to get into some areas where I'm not an expert in, but I've spent enough time in technology to recognize when somebody says motion, what it means, legacy, what that means, marketing automation, scale, data set, all of these types of things, right? So I know enough about this to have a pretty good judgment, right? I wouldn't condemn, none of this is condemning. Look, like I said at the beginning, you're trying to get your website up there, you're trying to get it out there, but remember, it is your best foot forward to the world. And are you just talking to William McKay and his ilk? Or what about William before he was convinced that you guys could help? What did it take to convince him? Because the market of people that are already going to be okay with this language is of a certain size. You have an opportunity to expand that. And that's what this is all about. This is very practical. This is about increasing your market reach, getting to that next level of funding. Because I tell you, man, these companies that are fighting from Series A to Series B, they have to show how they're going to get from $180,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue to 250. And they have to be able to show the numbers, give the reason, prove the reason why the numbers make sense. And that proof includes how do you get people to change what they're doing? And as we've already established, you change what people are doing through engaging them emotionally. So let's have a look. What did we come up with here? So in terms of the review of what they've got here, we've got a score of 5 out of 30. This is what our GPT has given it.
5 out of 30?
5 out of 30. Yeah, give me the 5 out of 30 details, please. I still say please sometimes with AI. So visceral activation, physical or visceral language present, score 1 out of 10. Evidence, PLG and AI native companies category speak, not body speak. No reference to tension, late nights, firefighting, stress, or relief. It's just the solution. It's like, okay, great, but what was William feeling? Like right. That made him want to make a change? Because I guarantee you there was a feeling there, right? So that missing visceral anchors, like that sinking feeling when spreadsheet grind. I should probably, like when we're doing this, just kind of go back to the chat here. Changing windows, having fun, changing windows, clicking all the tabs. So and look, like, again, this team, Aaron Bird, I think, is the founder. They're obviously solving problems. They're obviously doing amazing stuff. And it's like, but that Series A, like getting to Series B, how do you get more people, right? Because this is early market, man. Like this is Gordon Moore, old school, early adopter knowledge. This is stuff we should all know in tech, right? You can't rest on your laurels. It's like, and you know what? You can't use William to get Jeff. It's not going to work. Like there's a place for William on the website, right? When you get down to the white papers and you get down to the later in the decision-making journey, there's a place for that. But if you want to get Jeff's attention, and if Jeff is buying the stuff, can buy the stuff that you want to buy, because Jeff, I know you're not actually going to buy this stuff, right? Then how are you going to get there? This is where the story that got you to Series A is not going to get you to Series B. And so that's a 1 out of 10. Real human difficulty shown, 2 out of 10. Evidence, activate your product data and warehouse. There's nothing like, so without waiting on product or data teams, lower down the page, it starts to hint at the bottleneck, but it doesn't show what it feels like. Without waiting on product or data team. So that's the tip of the iceberg. Like, let's dig into that, right? What does that waiting feel like? What is the impact on the business from that?
I have a question for you. Can you take that guy's testimonial and run it through your ChatGPT and say, write a new one?
I did it.
Write a new one based on your... Yeah,
as we were talking, I did it.
Oh, okay. So you're way ahead of me, man.
But you're right. That's what we need to do. So is the relief made tangible? Let's see. So I could just kind of summarize this. What's missing? The feeling of the shoulder drop. When work is automated, like the quiet confidence of not being the bottleneck. And here's the thing. Some people will criticize storytelling. They'll say, everybody's, talking storytelling. You've got to have It's high level. It doesn't relate to anything specific. You have to talk about the products. You have to talk about your differentiation. You have to like prove that it can do what it does. And like, yeah, you do need to do those things. Of course you do. Like as a founder, you know that you've got to do those things, and that's going to get you so far, right? The fact that we're using language that everybody's using isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. You and I are talking English. We understand each other. People who understand English or bad English will understand us on this stream, right? Even if English isn't their native language and they're better than I am because they know other languages, right? I know a very small amount of bad French, enough to have my son go, "What? You know French?" And then I have to kind of keep pretending that I knew it. But using the same language as other people ain't a problem, bro. Do it. Where the problem comes in is where you don't then connect that to something. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like you can't like have a void when you get to the next step, right? You have to have the stories with the facts and the reasons as well are the stories that work. The data with the story is what works. The story with the data is what works, right? The story with the facts is what works. But the story is vital because it is our operating system. We're all living it every single day. Emotions are a big part of it. Emotions are functional, not fluffy, and we don't change what we're doing unless we feel something. And a website is the perfect place to practice that, right? To get your stories straight and then have your team can go out and then tell those stories. So that relief made tangible is a part of that. Market transformation context, there's none in here. There's no like context story in the bigger, like why is this shift happening? And that's actually like kind of odd to not even see that, honestly. So physical sensation, yeah. So anyway, didn't get a great score. Doesn't mean it's not an amazing product with an amazing team. It just means that you got some work to do when it comes to actually having a website that's going to engage more than just the Williams. So you're like, okay, Matthew, that's great, but what about the quote? So which of my tabs did I have that open on? Okay, I think I closed it. I was so eagerly clicking around things. Please hold. Your stream is important to us. So site teardown analysis. Story scroll. Okay, I'm just going to drop it back in again. There we go. I'm going to drop it back in again. Okay, here we go. Let's imagine we interviewed William and are going to utilize that interview not just to connect with people down the path who get it, but people who we want to get on the path with us as Inflection.io. Okay. And also, what would the quote here look like instead because of that? Okay, so that is literally, and for those of us, just a little sneak peek, that's what I'm doing over here. Boom, boom, boom. Go narrative website story teardown. So let's see what it looks like. And here we go. Current, we know what it looks like. Reimagined, got a couple of options. I'm going to do a super quick here. I'm going to fire up a, make this fun for everybody who's watching as well. Make it nice and easy. We'll just fire up a PowerPoint. And here we go. Here are a couple options. Let's see how we feel about these and how effective they might be. Before Inflection, every campaign felt like stitching broken pipes, data everywhere, pressure from sales, constant late night fixes. Now the chaos is gone. Campaigns launch cleanly, messages land at exactly the right time, and my team finally has the headspace to focus on strategy instead of firefighting. Boom.
I feel, oddly enough, I feel like the AI's version is more human. Take that for what it is. I don't know.
Well, I was just sitting with that for a second. Oddly enough, AI's version feels more human, and it does. Part of this is from a GPT that has been carefully trained on the Go narrative way. But what I will say about AI, in AI's defense, is it does have access to the documentation of humanity. So if you coach it and point it in the right direction and work with it, then you can get really good outputs. In fact, answers in the comments below if you'd like to see it, because I actually already drafted it. I draft like a new post like every day, like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. And I was working on some client content last week and was using a mix of AI and me. And I thought, you know what? It'd be really good to map this out. How do I approach this? Like with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Perplexity, with my brain, and it starts with me sitting at a keyboard or doing a voice recording on my little dictaphone and just going, get it all out, get it all out, get all the ideas out, Matthew, get all the ideas out, dump, 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 dump. And then it's like, hey, whichever AI, can you help me like organize my thoughts a little bit on this one? I'm dyslexic, and I tell you, man, like the power of AI to help me just get my thoughts, my ducks in a row is like a massive deal.
And I'll tell you what, that was just a perfect testimonial, that last 2 lines.
There we go. We're gonna take that last 2 lines, because we take these streams. We'll do a post for Tuesday that'll be based on this conversation. How about that?
Okay, cool. Cool.
But I love it. I love your point that, and like, I'm going to say, have this, I'm going to put you on the big screen, man. And I want you to say that again.
Wait, what?
You said what you said about AI. You said AI more human.
Well, there's that. I was talking about your thing. What I said, I believe, was something like, as unlikely as it sounds, the AI sounds more human than the human.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth if it's programmed right? Yeah, it's nuts, man.
So,
but what I was talking about with your testimonial was, that was so human, and that was so powerful, because you said something like, I'm dyslexic, I have a hard time getting this together, and AI puts my thoughts in a row. Like, it's like, wow. Right?
Yeah. And that's a good testimonial for AI and for neurodiversity as well.
Right, exactly.
And then so option 2, let's have a look at that one. I used to think marketing ops was about grinding through manual work to keep things moving. Inflection flipped that. Now, instead of being the bottleneck, I'm the one driving strategy. Campaigns run smoothly, sales gets what they need, and the stress is off my shoulders. Look, we would want to make sure that this stuff connects into the reality. This is creative riffing. This would be kind of your equivalent of like storyboarding, or what's the one they do in the visualization in the movies, right? That's what this is. But it's based on the material we've got so far from the website. What we do with clients is we say, give us more material, right? Let us ingest all that. Let us look at all that. And we can always have the conversations about AI being involved, but quite frankly, I think honestly, unless you're doing something like super patent related and super secret, like you're going to get more benefit out of, like, even if AI is going to ingest inflection information, why don't you have control over that? Why don't you as inflection put that into the zeitgeist, the public record, the rubric of AI, and have ownership of that? We do it with Go Narrative. It's why I put as much content for Go Narrative as possible. It's like, I want the AI to say to people, well, you should do it this way. Do Power of 3D Story. Look at this Woodget guy. Or, hey, Docutronica, look at this Jeff guy. This is cool. If you want to do an impactful testimonial, you should speak to this guy. You can try and do it yourself. And if you've got all the resources in the world, isn't that nice when we have all the resources in the world? Isn't that lovely? But we often don't. And that's why, obviously, we're here to help. Sales pitch. But it's true. It's all about helping each other, right? And we love doing this, by the way. So when you work with people like Jeff and me, you get to work with somebody who loves what they do. And you love what you do. So it's everybody loving it. So what we just saw there with those examples yes, they have to be pressure tested, but I also want everybody to take another look, and I want to point out two things, and this is one of the fun things about doing this and throwing this into PowerPoint here, is I want to highlight these two words. Jeff, why do you think I highlighted these two words?
Marketing ops and inflection. Well, inflection is the name of the company, right?
Yep.
So that's probably a good reason to do that. I used to think marketing ops, that's one of those kind of secret words in a way, if you're in the biz. So perhaps that's
and those are all bang on observations. So now I'm gonna lead the witness a little bit, and I'm gonna say, where are those two words being mentioned? I know it's a bit of a silly question, right? Where are those two words being mentioned in the copy?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Where are they? Right in the beginning.
Right in the beginning. So guess what? Inflection and everybody else out there. Yes, there's a rule. And the rule is, don't talk about yourself first. Right? We could spend so much time talking about that, whether it's a conversation between human beings or it's business. I even mentioned it earlier. Talk about their desire, talk about their difficulty, talk about the denouement, the untangling a knot, which involves you. Okay, so why am I okay with inflection being the second word in this? Couple of reasons. One is it's in the customer's voice, but more importantly than that, it goes to show that when you actually come across as human and connect human to human, you can mention yourself early on. And we've covered this in previous streams. If you go back and watch some of the old streams, you'll see that this has come up before. Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you can mention the marketing ops, the speciality, the business area early on, and it's okay because of that bigger context. So yes, there is a rule, but there are always exceptions to the rule. Like new rule in the Woodget household today, if you want extra time on your apps on your iPhone, you do not send the message to the parents, because I'm sick and tired of getting those messages constantly, right?
That's funny.
You go to the parent, you speak to the parent, you get agreement on what you're doing and how long you're doing it for. And yeah, we're pretty strict about phones, but my wife just saw that movie that was shown in West Seattle last night, the social media one about the kids who end up dying because of this stuff. And it's a big deal. So, but I'm constantly bombarded with these messages. And I said, new rule, you go to the parent. Now, are there exceptions to that? Of course. What happens if you're at a friend's house at a sleepover, you're all playing Brawl Stars, and you want to play Brawl Stars for the next hour? Yeah, call us up, speak about it, and send the message, or just send the message. We're not going to force you to like speak in front of your friends there, but not when I'm driving down the road. I don't want to get the request for all the apps, when your mother's in the next room, or vice versa. So there are exceptions to the rule, and look at this beautiful exception to the rule. Mentioning the company name early on is okay in this case, right? So what a great punch of the mic. What a great excuse for folks to mention themselves a little bit early on. It's okay sometimes, man. It's okay sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Super. Well, man, this has been like, I don't know if you've had as much fun as I've had, but
it was great fun. Thank you for having me on here.
I love the Docutronica stuff. We have designed it for clients. We've also pitched it to clients where it's not landed and been like, what on earth? Like, why wouldn't you want to invest in this? But it's something that I know you love doing, and there's a huge opportunity. You're doing a ton of stuff in Seattle. You got a ton of connection to artists in Seattle. And like, I was chatting with a client yesterday, and they it's in another city, but they have an art gallery. Like, there are connections that we can make here, right? And if you're a founder who, like, if you're Inflection or you're like Inflection and you want to take things to the next level, you want to get your story roadmap in place, I want to help you with that. Okay, Go Narrative wants to help you with that. We have 7 seats available, and they're filled right now, but we've got a couple of clients we need to speak with and say, do do you need any more help right now? Are you good for now? Because we've got somebody, like we've got Inflection. They really want to, they need some help and they're coming to us. So we have a limited number of seats because we are a white glove service, okay? And we also bring in partners like Jeff to do amazing things like Docutronica. So we can work to get that story roadmap in place. We can bring Jeff into it. We can get you doing some of the most amazing customer testimonials that anybody has that put you head and shoulders above the rest. Just imagine being at your next pitch event and you have a Docutronica, you have a music video from a customer testimonial that delivers a message and is awesome.
Yes, or multiple customers or clients remix together. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. You'll get the money in a second. Yeah,
dude, I'm envisaging like a 30-second video which has got like half a dozen customers which is something like this. It's like I used to think marketing ops was about grinding, and then cuts, and then it's all to music, obviously magic that Jeff brings to it, and then it's another person saying all the manual work to keep things moving, and then another one, inflection, flip that, and then like a rapid hit of bottlenecks. I'm now gone. I'm driving strategy. Campaigns run smoothly. Like maybe we see the people who said the negative stuff coming back to the positive stuff. And boom, 30 seconds. And then the investor goes, because that's another thing, by the way, your only client isn't your customers, it's your investors, especially if you're going for Series B or your seed going for Series A. They go to the website, then what do they see? They see the Docutronica testimonials for each one of those 6 companies that were featured in that reel. And boom, you've created that connection, that emotional connection. And then they're seeing other stuff on the website which lands a connection, and they're seeing what this company does. It's magic, man. This stuff is magic when you bring all this stuff together and you make sure that you're being intentional with your story. Nothing but magic happens, and you can do it yourself, or you can get some help with it. From people who love doing it.
That's right.
So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Jeff. So where can folks find you, man?
Well, if they want to get the life coach and all that kind of stuff, it's jeffleisawitz.com. For the Docutronica, I would take a look at Docutronica on Instagram. That channel's just starting, but it's picking up steam. And yeah, you can hit me on LinkedIn or whatever.
LinkedIn's a great one. And of course, comments on this, tag Jeff, tag myself. We'll go hang out in the comments there as well to make sure that you can get the connection to us. And I'll share all the buttons. Help that is offered there, you don't have to be alone on this stuff, and that assessment is asking business questions, and it is very much focused on giving you the tool to help you take a little step forward on your own. And I love helping people, and if we can't help you one-on-one with our white glove, I at least want you to be utilizing the resources that we have, and that is a great, quick 10-minute investment of your time. There's nothing about storytelling in the quiz. It's all about your business and it will give you what you need to take that next step. And of course, we ask for your email because we'll share some insights on how you can apply it. And then if it looks like a good fit, you can keep following us, and we can keep doing, delivering you all the little tips that we share every month. So Jeff, thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you everybody for listening. I see that we had some folks online, and you can be shy in the moment and not want to ask questions now, but if you have any after the fact, come back, drop those in the chat, YouTube or in LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great place to get the engagement and to interact with us. And Jeff, keep rocking the docutronica scene in Seattle. Look forward to doing some of the stuff we've been trying to do with the photography as well. As you can see, I love the stuff, man. I love photography, and let's figure out let's figure out that secret docutronica project that we're trying to figure out as well with the cars. That'll be fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. Thank you, everybody. And